Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another vintage video. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com and we'll take a look at them after round 1. So every time I get a dealer's donation deck list, I get to just do something really cool that I want to try out. And today we are going to be trying out Smelting Vat. So this is kind of similar to a birthing pot effect. So it costs 1 to activate this. Sacrifice another artifact. Reveal the top 8, yes, 8 cards of your library. Put up to 2 non-creature artifact cards with total mana value less than or equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest onto the bottom of your library in a random order. Okay, so what are we doing with this? We are going to use Smelting Vat to get copies of Manifold Key, and we can pick up some Moxen along the way. Doing so will let us untap the Smelting Vat, okay? So we can kind of continue the chain. Anytime that you have a little bit of extra mana floating around, you can activate the Smelting Vat, get another one of these keys, maybe pick up some mana, and kind of keep grinding value. Ultimately, our plan is to find our Time Vault. And Time Vault, while normally an unplayable card, is very good, because with Manifold Key or Voltaic Key, you can just kind of get infinite turns without the normal downside of skipping one of your turns regularly. And one of the pieces that is going to make this deck... let's drag one of these over here. One of these pieces that oddly is going to make the deck work is actually the Mightstone and the Weakstone. Now, you can ignore the Urza sides of this. Basically, when this enters the battlefield, we're going to draw 2 cards. Sometimes we might kill a creature, but we're usually going to draw 2 cards. And this is also just an artifact that taps for 2 mana. So we're going to power out that with things like Workshop and all of our Moxen and Ancient Tombs. We're going to tap it for 2 mana, draw 2 cards when it enters the battlefield, and then Smelting Vat it away, maybe getting another Mightstone and Weakstone, or otherwise turning it into either defensive cards or more mana for us. So this is going to be really neat. I goldfished a handful of hands with this just to kind of get a feel for how it plays out. And it's a little hard to do that without an opponent on the other side of the battlefield with this deck. Because, if you're playing against a blue deck, you need to be defensive and try to find defense grids before you put your Time Vault into play. Because, we get one of those, right? It's a restricted card. It's real good. Now, that said, we can just win with some large Urza Saga tokens, or we can ultimately find a Karn and then win with that as well. So it's not like we're 100% all in on finding Time Vault for our win, but it's pretty close to the case that, we're going to win most of our games that we win with Time Vault. Now, something like a Karn the Great Creator or a Collector Oof on the other side of the battlefield is going to be a little bit of a problem. So, you might notice there's a whopping 4 Dismembers over here. And while, those can be just totally great and reasonable versus creature decks, I feel like they're mostly here so that we're not just stone cold dead to something like a Collector Oof or a random Hate Bear. Other than that, most of the sideboard is actually a Karn Wish board rather than a, air quotes, proper sideboard. So just kind of keep that in mind. There are definitely things in here that we might board in, like a random Wormcoil engine can be great versus more aggressive decks of the format like Shops, but we're looking to be a combo value deck most of the time, I think. I'm really excited to try this one out. This deck feels like it was built for YouTube for me, in that this is a glorious, glorious degree of jank. I am trying out some new lighting today. I now have 2 lamps in this room, so it's much brighter in here. Please let me know what you think of the new lighting setup. I would appreciate that. Also, I randomly got an error on my recording software that I think I got fixed, but if something seems super off with today's video that wasn't the case yesterday, let me know. All right. With that said, if you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you're a regular, please, 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 please throw me a like. It matters a lot on the videos for non-legacy formats in particular, as those have lower viewership. All right, let's battle. Okay, let's see. I have Mana Crypt, which gets me to 2 mana. 2 mana gets me to 3 mana for Mana Vault. 3 mana gets me Key, 2 floating. 1 floating, activate 4 mana. I can play a Mystic Forge on turn 1 with this hand. That's weird. Is this a keep? A keep? This is a weird fucking keep. For science? Maybe for science. Like, I have key plus top, which is really cute as well. Like, you can tap top, draw a card, untap it with Manifold Key, and then... hoo. Nice restricted cards over there as well. Anyway, finishing that thought, you can tap top, untap it with Manifold Key, tap it again. Oh, man, that is so much fucking mana. I am jealous. Okay, so much for the drawing a card part. That part's not looking so good right now. Oh, fuck me. Okay, each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn, and then my opponent did a draw 7. Literal nothing that I could have done would have stopped that shit. Let's get a feel for what my opponent is playing, and then I will concede. Absolutely fucking savaged. Immediately, turn 1 in Vintage. Let's go. This format's great. Okay, Dak Faden. So we are well into the mid-rangey plan here. Okay, I'm gonna get to take a turn now. We're gonna play draw go for it. Oh, nope. There's more. I'm gonna play that out. That's probably confusing for my opponent. Oh wait, the Mana Crypt. That's how I win this one, right? Dang it. Just in case you're not super familiar with this one, you've got a 50% chance of getting lightning bolted every turn. That's the price of a free Soul Ring. Okay. What a fucking hand. Oh my gosh. Alright, Tinker Bolas's Citadel. Okay, so this is... I'm gonna just F6 and I'll keep talking here. This is a very fun card in Vintage. Like, you can just tinker for this and then play an absolute... Oh, fuck, I should have conceded in response to that Gataxian Probe. That's what I get for F6ing. Anyway, you can play an absolutely disgusting number of cards off of the top of your library. Like a Sphinx of the Steel Wind, as one does. Honestly, I'm gonna let my opponent have this one. Time block. Oh god. Alright, I'm dead. What a show. What a show that you just put on, opponent. So we've got opposing wheels to worry about with both Narset and Hullbreacher here. I'm not really sure that I want to play Dismember to fight Hullbreacher though. Like, kinda matters. But like, it's not gonna stop Narsets, not gonna stop Dax. Dak is a pain in the butt. Makes it much harder for me to play out, like, Vault and pass the turn, which is something that I don't really want to do anyway. I'm gonna kind of assume that we're pre-boarded against blue and just whack the submit button. Okay, so Mox, Opal, Valerian Academy, tap for 2 mana, 3 mana with Mox Opal, play Foundry Inspector, go into, like, Defense Grid afterwards. I think this hand is fine. It's going to be relatively good versus Narset, and I'm going to be able to pressure a Planeswalker. I've got an Inventor's Fair that I can use to tutor up a relevant card. And any good top deck that I have is going to likely resolve. Not 100%, but is going to likely resolve. Alright. Larian Academy for 3 mana. Foundry Inspector, which will give me Metalcraft, allowing me to play Defense Grid at a discounted cost. That's a pretty good turn. This Tolarian Academy is going to tap for a disgusting amount of mana. We've definitely got the Metalcraft for Inventor's Fair's ability. Okay. Casual Ancestral. That's fine. Alright, there's that Lotus again. Ooh, a Mox. Well, we're going to go to Punchies. We're going to take some Punchies. Opponent goes to 17. Play Sapphire. 1, 2, 3, 4. Foundry Inspector taps for 5. Or sorry, Tolarian Academy taps for 5. You can actually make it tap for 6 by playing out Foundry Inspector ahead of time. If I want to do that. Cost me these 2. Then this taps for 6. It seems like I don't actually want to do that. I need 3 mana after Inventor's Fair. Currently taps for 5. Yeah, so I don't want to do that right now. Let's sacrifice Inventor's Fair. grab a Smelting Vat. I'll go ahead and play Smelting Vat. Let's see what we can do with this. Alright, here we go. I think I activated it, getting rid of my Foundry Inspector here. Now I get to look at 8. So let's pick up something expensive and something useful. Go 3 mana, Manifold Key, untap the Smelting Vat. Now I can activate this again. You see where this is going? It's going places. Junking the Grim Monolith. And now, I don't know how good top is. Like, not bad. I think I'm just going to get Monolith and Pearl, though. Go done. Go 3 mana here. And put a new creature into play. We'll work on trying to find Time Bolt again next turn. That was turn 2, right? There's a lot of cards on the battlefield for turn 2, even by vintage standards. Urza's Saga. Still real good in this older format. I mean, potentially better in vintage than in Legacy, honestly. Like, you have so many Moxen to support it. Okay. He untaps. Now, my opponent... Whoa! Let's just be activated at instant speed. Man, right? Yeah. So I guess let's crash in with Foundry Inspector. Get my opponent for 3. I don't really think it's safe right now to do the thing. It doesn't feel safe here. So I think I'm just going to try to grind some value this turn for a little while. Try to find another defense grid if I can. And make it harder for my opponent to actually counter this Time Vault. Or we can do a lot of untappies. We'll pick up 2 keys. Untap a Vault. Activate Vault. I think I just get rid of my 3/2 here. Because I want to be looking for more defense grids. Hey, it's more defense grids. Nice. Let's pick up another defense grid. Maybe a top here. I don't know. I don't super want to play into Hull Breacher. Maybe we just keep getting keys. Could be a Ruby too. Alright, there's another defense grid. Everything costs 4 more. Am I willing to just jam? Costs my opponent Lotus guaranteed. Not willing to jam yet. Do 1 more untap on the Smelting Vat. Grind just a little bit more value. Sacrifice one of the tapped keys this time, I guess. Just convert it into some more artifact mana. Nice. Pick up a top and a jet. Well, I guess actually I can use some of this mana to look at the top cards of my library. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, we'll take that. I'm not actually going to use Voltaic Key here. Let's attempt to tap this draw card and see if I can bait out like a Hull Breacher. Nope. That's fine. Let's play the Mightstone and the Weakstone. Counter something. Just counter something. Use your mana. Damn it. Alright. I will draw 2 cards here. I get 2 mana out of this. Play a new Smelting Vat. Smelting Vat away my draw 2. Ooh. Pithing Needle's interesting. Mystic Forge is very good. Getting another Mightstone and the Weakstone is also not crazy. I think I'm going to pick up Mystic Forge, though. Let's go Mystic Forge, Pithing Needle. We'll name my opponent's Urza Saga here. Alright, there is a Soul Ring. Perfectly happy to do that. Then get rid of that city. I'm fine casting a Grim Monolith. 3 mana for a Foundry Inspector. Do I just try to take extra turns here? Let's try it. Can do other things if it doesn't work out. Untap. Oh shit, it just worked. Take an extra turn? Okay. Alright, I maybe... I'm not sure how conservatively I was supposed to play there. But that was cool. Like, I maybe should have just, like, kept going, like, Smelting Vat, a Smelting Vat, try to look for 1 more defense grid. Man, that was cool. Do it again? No changes? Board in a Spyglass? Like, I know my opponent has Urza Saga now. I know they have Planeswalkers. But I think I like the game 1 plan well enough. Okay. 1 mana, 2 mana, down to 1 mana, up to 4 mana. Down to 2 mana, up to 5 mana. I can play Meekstone or a Monolith, I can play Smelting Vat or Meekstone on turn 1. I think this is fine. I can't really just call it... Sorry, it's Mightstone, not Meekstone. A lot of stones. A lot of important rocks in this lore. My opponent is going to 5, which, like, is not good for them, but Vintage is a place where wild shit happens. Like, my opponent... Ooh, ooh. And that's gonna be good here. That's gonna be good here. Well. Alright, we'll see what we can do. So, Sapphire, Ruby, Mana Vault. I guess I don't need to tap both immediately. Tap Mana Vault. Or, this was dumb. I'm one off. I can't play both of them. Yeah, so this should have just been Monolith Pass. That was my bad. I guess given that I've made this, you can only be untapped. Or no, I'm an idiot. I did count correctly. I just have a floating mana. Okay, there we go. I'll take my draw 2. There's a top with Manifold Key. That's not bad. Go ahead and play that Manifold Key. Untap a Grim Monolith here. Go up to 3 mana. 1 to top. And activate it. Oh, those are cards. Those are cards. I think Trinisphere goes on the bottom there. I draw Defense Grid. And play the other one out. I think I'm just going to preemptively Pithing Needle Dak Faden. I don't want my opponent stealing my stuff here. My stuff's good. And then Mystic Forge can work on finding me an Urza Saga, which is going to be my primary way to win at this point, with Karn being the secondary win condition. Brainstorm's fine. I'll get one of those in Vintage, by the way, just for the regular Legacy fans. Alright, my opponent has played and cracked a Delta. And let's see where this is going. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen one of these in a little while. So there's currently Defense Grid on top of my library. My opponent has 1 card in hand, so I think I just let my Defense Grid go. My more critical card is actually 1 under that. So this is fine. Yep, alright, goodbye Defense Grid. Ragavan pops back to hand. Not untapping this here. I'll just take the damage. Only 1, which is not that big of a deal. So Trinisphere is the card under this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana for Mystic Forge. I have 6 total mana if I Grim Monolith. Will I exile Trinisphere? I probably exile Trinisphere. I think I'm going to make my bonus mana now. So let's untap this. Actually, I could play the Mightstone and the Weakstone and just play Trinisphere and Mystic Forge later. Is that better? Makes my opponent's Ragavan noticeably worse. I think I'm just going to resolve this while I'm pretty sure that it will resolve. I guess I could just tap, draw a card with top, and then, like, replay the top. But let's just junk the Trinisphere and try to hit better than this. There's an Opal. There's a Smelting Vat. Let's just tap and draw with top there. And recast top. Okay, there's a key. Now we're potentially going some places. So I can use the key. Untap a Monolith. 3 mana for a top. Okay. Use another mana for a top. Play out an Opal. Legend Rule. Go ahead and tap, draw a card. Use my Opal mana. Nice. Mana Crypt. Oh, there's Urza Saga. Fantastic. Tap, draw a card. Play Urza Saga. My permanents are bouncing around crazily. 1, 2, 3, 4 mana currently. Just play a Smelting Vat to increase my artifact count, but I think I can do better. I can't make that land drop this turn. I think I'm going to try to rearrange with top here. Get a feel for these. Got 2 mana currently. So a lot of the rest of this stuff isn't going to work out super well for me. Let's leave Foundry Inspector 2 down. Leave a city on top. Well, I guess this is basically just free. Let's loop that, play that. And then I can do a rearrange at instant speed with my remaining Mox Opal mana. Even without the Smelting Vats, since I got that Mystic Forge in play, I was able to do some pretty dirty stuff. Ash Ragavan is fine. So I'll go ahead and rearrange this in a way that's nice for me. I'll give my opponent a Workshop. We'll go Workshop, an Inspector, Workshop. You connect. Take your treasure. Probably fine just drawing the Foundry Inspector. I don't think I'm going to rearrange in my upkeep or anything. Take a little bit of damage to that. Fails never fails. Ow. Fails failed. I'm down to 10. I have a very large Urza Saga token already coming. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and play out another. Well, I guess I can start this turn off with like a Foundry Inspector. And then play the Mightstone and the Weakstone. Could probably activate Manifold Key on something here. Play the Mightstone and the Weakstone. Keep the untapped one. Draw 2 cards. There's a new key. Sounds good to me. Oh, this is gonna get broken fast, isn't it? So play a Foundry Inspector. Pay a life, take that off the top of my deck. Never gonna want that card. Yeah. Just throw that one into my hand. Oh, I now have multiple ops here with Foundry Inspector, so they're free. Oh, that's really cool. So that's just free. I get to tap, draw a card, put Inventor's Fair into my hand, recast top for free. There's just a Time Vault. Yeah, I'm fine just YOLOing that into play. Play a key, target Time Vault. GG deck is sweet. GG's. There's a lot going on with this deck. If you really knew what you were doing with this deck ins and out, this is actually probably pretty reasonable. This is sweet. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is a deck building site for Magic the Gathering. If you're like me and you make a lot of deck lists, and I'm talking like 5 or more a week, you might be kind of frustrated with how hard it can be to find them in some databases. Worry not, Moxfield has all of these nice hubs that you can use to kind of mark your deck lists to make them more easily searchable and findable by other people who are building similar things as you. Okay, round 2. 3 initial mana. I can just try to play Trinisphere on turn 1 and I'm on the play. I'd probably do that. Alternatively, I can play Defense Grid and Voltaic Key on turn 1 and then Trinisphere on turn 2 so that I deploy more of my hand before I make things more expensive. But generally speaking, Trinisphere fucks. So we're gonna Trinisphere. Like if my opponent has a handful of Mox and I just make them cost 3, it's pretty insane to do so. Now if they just play Mishra's Workshop and a creature, I'm so fucked. That's not the best for me. I am not gonna lie to you. I think it's still reasonable to play out my things so that I can do cool stuff with Smelting Vat later. But if my opponent just has an Ancient Tomb in hand, like this is indeed scary. Okay. Ow. Let's Monolith. So this is 3 mana. Untap. This 5 mana is a Smelting Vat. Activate that, targeting my Monolith. Oh shit. I just get to name Urza Saga here. Oh wow, that's so good. So I'll get like Pithing Needle and Soul Ring. Massive punish here. Well, I guess like in the short term, it's my opponent missing out on a 1/1, right? In the long term, though, that's pretty brutal. Urza Saga can just sneak a Lotus or equivalent into play. My opponent will have some ability to work around a Trinisphere. White mana? What are we doing? This is so much mana. Oh shit, it's initiative creatures. Alright, I've played this deck on the channel like last week. I can kill one thing with the Mightstone and the Weakstone. But it seems like my opponent is going for 2 threats here. Ooh, that's a Pithing Needle on Smelting Vat, which is very strong. Okay. I need to find an Urza Saga to take the initiative. Okay. Okay. Also can't Smelting Vat that away anymore. 1, 2. I guess I can make 1 mana by untapping Soul Ring. Brings me up to 5 mana for this. Just gonna kill the Seasoned Dungeoneer so I don't get punchied immediately. And I'm going to use 3 mana to play a top through a Trinisphere. Alright. Going to set an upkeep stop on my turn. Alright, so my opponent is going down the side that is ultimately going to give them a 4/1 skeleton token. That is a bottom with the Scry. 4 mana. Soul Ring is totally fine. So here's the white mana so they can play a threat or an Archon or whatever. Okay, it is a White Plume Adventurer. So now my opponent is going to go to Stash and get a treasure token. And presumably that's the end of their turn. Let's take a look at some cards with top. Mystic Forge. That's not bad, exactly. A little awkward because of my own Trinisphere. Let's Voltaic Key and untap something that makes 2 mana. 2 life in process. Go up to 3 mana. Ask the Jet. That's going to be my turn. End of turn, I'll top, and I'll potentially take one of the worst cards away. We're basically looking to find Time Vault at this point. Because between my Ancient Tomb and the 2 onboard creatures, it's kind of rough here. Yeah. Oh, that's fine. I didn't need to play multiple spells or anything. So I am going to 7 here, which means I am dead on board. I really need to find something with this top. Does that actually mean that I should just Mystic Forge immediately and look 1 deeper with top? It probably does. Inventor's Fair. Okay. I'll draw Inventor's Fair. Opponent gets to untap their White Plume. I believe I don't have enough mana to do what I want. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total mana. 4 of that is for Inventor's Fair, which enters tapped because of Archon. Actually, this card's good, so I can't actually tap and sacrifice that. So we're gonna exile a card with Mystic Forge, try to get deeper, try to find a Time Vault. Okay, we found some Mightstones and Weakstones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So I can play this, keep this one. I can kill Archon so that I can play more spells. Okay. Not totally dead. Inventor's Fair can now enter untapped. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, effectively 5 mana. Means that I can crack Inventor's Fair with 1 floating, which doesn't quite do it. So I guess let's look with top. Alright. There's a Mana Crypt on top now. Fuck Trinisphere. Okay, I now think I am dead. Yeah, I will concede there. I wonder if I had a better line there. Yeah, with both Urza Saga and Smelting Vat gunked there. It's just a little short of a reasonable way to win. Is Dismember good in this matchup? Dismember doesn't allow me to take back the initiative. It's really hard for me to take the initiative. I can use Dismember to kill the Hate Bears, though. Probably means that it's reasonable. Like, I don't want Trinisphere here. Despite the fact that my opponent has Urza Saga, I don't think I can Pithing Needle that, so this probably goes out as well. Arn for Ensnaring Bridge is pretty good. Fence Grid isn't super necessary, so I can play Dismember and Swamps, and then maybe I board in a Wormcoil engine so that I can find something if Smelting Vat gets Pithing Needled, but I can still wish for one. I will say that's reasonable. Okay. I've got a Mystic Forge. This hand is going to be a keep. I also just have turn 1 infinite turns if my opponent doesn't have free interaction, which we should probably just go for. Workshop? Or actually, I have to play Vault in order to get one more mana ahead here. Alright, play Vault, play Key, play Time Vault, Manifold Key, target it, tap, go for an extra turn. And we have gone infinite as of turn 1. Feels good. I will take a little bit of damage to my Mana Vault, but then we will spiral out of control extremely quickly. There's Mystic Forge. Before I forget, Manifold Key, target Time Vault, take an extra turn. Okay, now I have displayed enough stuff that my opponent is willing to concede. We'll run it back the same way for the next game. Being on the play is good when you open on your restricted card that your deck is built around. Highly recommend it. Okay, so assuming I actually get to cast my cards the way that I want to, I have 5 mana on turn 1, which is Mystic Forge plus some other bullshit. I have a Dismember for a starting creature from my opponent. I may deal an absolutely ungodly amount of damage to myself between Ancient Tomb and Dismember, but we'll probably figure something out. Alright, there's an Urza Saga as my opponent's starting card. Alright, I mean, let's go. Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith, 3 mana, Manifold Key, untap Grim Monolith, up to 4 mana, play Mystic Forge. There is a Smelting Vat. That's a little bit awkward right now. I don't think I'm actually going to take that. Okay, I have revealed a Jet, which is much better. Dismember on top is cool. Play out a card. Let's play a top, and I think I'll just call it a turn there, with multiple removal spells coming up. Something like a Kataki could ruin my day. A Null Rod. I guess let's find an Urza Saga. Let's take a look with top here. Oh no, there is not help coming. And every time that I want to do something, I do have to take damage, because Ancient Tomb is my only land. And I just have to naturally draw through these. Okay. Oh, that Null Rod is so strong. Okay. I think my opponent almost certainly is going to win the game here off of that card. We'll try to make that not the case. That's a real good Null Rod. At least we're not facing down an Urza Saga construct token immediately, but I'm probably facing down an initiative creature this turn. So I would probably name Urza Saga if I were my opponent there. Yeah. It's now very hard for me to win, huh? Basically need to find Karn? Or my opponent murders me with the initiative? Yeah. I love my opponent's deck. I really enjoyed playing that. I think it's very good. My deck is in the territory somewhere between legitimate and meme. Oh shit, it's a swamp! I guess I see if my opponent will go to Forge, and if they target their creature with Forge, I dismember it. Yeah, they are going for Forge. Ugh. Oh, this is such a disgusting amount of damage. And Trap happens next turn. Starting next turn, I can at least start playing out 1 mana artifacts from my hand without it hurting me. Never mind. Never mind. Well, I found the Dismembers. They just don't look very good right now. I will be passing the turn here. Lose 5 life, putting me to 4, which effectively means I get to tap Ancient Tomb 1 time. I can't exactly Dismember right now. Life's pretty fucking bad. Yeah. So, my opponent draws a card. Throne of the Dead 3 happens next turn, which I don't really think I'm beating. And, like, I draw this Dismember 100% of the time. So we're done. I'm gonna see what my opponent finds with their Throne of the Dead 3, you know? Just for the shits and giggles. An Archon of Emeria. Well, I guess I could also find another Seasoned Dungeoneer, but Archon seems strong here. I'm gonna dismember your creature. Oh wait, I can't tap like that. Alright, I need to do this in a different order. Click on life, click on life. There we go. End up at a negative life total, but take out your creature on the way. GG's. Alright. My opponent has recognized me, and I will be a total fucking baddie by going infinite on turn 1. We're gonna keep. Man. What a hand. Oh. Don't like Trinisphere. Don't like Trinisphere. Don't do it. Just let me win. Just let me win. Don't Karn me. I guess you can't Karn me. Alright, Mystic Forge is fine. Yeah, that's fine. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Pass the turn. Oh, yeah. Nice. So, we are doing the thing here. Time Vault. That is Metalcraft. Manifold Key. Untaps Time Vault. We'll take an extra turn. Oh, this is gross. So, if we are playing some sort of workshop mirror or pseudo mirror, I probably don't want this stuff. My opponent's got Mystic Forge, so they may be relatively in on that plan. They probably have like some Urza Saga type stuff. I just board in. I'm looking for 4 slots, assuming that I want to keep Pithing Needle, which I think I do. And play like Key, Warm Coil, Spyglass, Needle. I could play Cage. I could preemptively board some Dismembers as well. I think I'm going to start here until I have a better feel of exactly what my opponent's deck list is going to look like. I saw very little of it. We could even be playing a literal mirror. Okay. I'm gonna keep this hand. We've got a couple of different ways that it can go, depending on what my opponent does with their turn. Oh, we're playing against KCI, Crack Clan Ironworks. And my opponent has an Urza's Saga. Alright. So my opponent has some value artifacts that they can sacrifice if they find an Ironworks. Alright. Do I want to be playing the Mightstone and the Weakstone this turn, or do I just want to be playing Urza's Saga? Probably just want to play Urza Saga. Let's Saga. Earl. Actually, I might just be doing Vault. Mana Vault. 3 mana. Manifold Key. Untap this. 4 mana. 5 mana. Yeah, this was easily the best line. There's another Mightstone and the Weakstone for later, too. Got 2 mana left that I can't do anything with. That's fine. Reasonable turn 1. Okay, opponent's got an Inventor's Fair. That can be their tutor. Oh, it is a pseudo mirror. They have a Smelting Vat. Oh man, this is cute. Alright, I like it. Opponent, yeah, there's the Ironworks. Opponent is on a different build of what I'm doing. Trap Trawler too. Ooh, spicy. They've gone for Emerald and Sorceress Spyglass. They named Smelting Vat. I wonder if they have a KCI in hand, and they're just gonna like sacrifice that and bring it back a little bit later or something. I'm just gonna take the damage here. I can untap it later. I feel like that's a good idea. So Tolarian Academy is just better than Workshop at this point. Let's go ahead and just play that out. And play one of these. Keep the untapped one. Get a draw 2. Play out a Ruby. Go 2. Untap a Mana Vault. 3, 4, 5. Play another Divination Rock. Draw 2 more cards. Oh shit, there's a Time Vault. I can't take the extra turn immediately. I probably shouldn't show that to my opponent. In case they like reset with Sorcerer Spyglass or something. So let's call it a turn there, and I can make a very large Urza Saga token. But I'm definitely scared of what my opponent can do this turn. I think I just create this token now so I don't randomly get, like, Urza Saga Pithing Needled in an awkward position. Alright. My opponent has assembled Vault Key. I am comfortable conceding the game there. We will give them that. I'm not gonna make them click through. I think killing me will be relatively easy. So, got a little bit more information now. My Pithing Needle type stuff is going to be good. A Grafdigger's Cage maybe becomes slightly more reasonable, as does the Graveyard Hate. That said, why do I still have one defense grid? I just physically didn't pull one out in the previous game. The Warm Coil engines are maybe a little bit less necessary than I thought. I can also bring the Trinisphere back in when I am on the play. That's reasonable. I'm not really sure about the Graveyard Hate. I just don't have reps against this deck to know all this good. Okay. Saga, Mana Crypt, Opal. Use the Saga mana to Mana Vault. I will have 3, 4, 5, 6 total mana. This is going to be a keep. Not 100% sure what the best way to play this is. If I put Foundry Inspector into play, I can get a discount on a lot of my spells. So I could go Saga, Crypt, Foundry Inspector, Opal, Free Mana Vault, Smelting Vat, Pass. That's probably pretty good. Alright. Saga, Crypt, Inspector, Free Vault, Free Opal, 3 mana, Melting Vat. Activate this. Sacrificing the Foundry Inspector? Question mark, question mark, question mark? That's probably fine. Alright, I have very specific cards that I'm getting. I have no choice here. We'll call that a turn. I have a lot of gas in play. That is a very strong turn 1. Opponent's also got the Urza Saga game potentially going. Don't care about a Wellspring. More artifact mana, always a good thing. Ooh. Needle's good. There's 2 very reasonable needle targets here, though. I think that's the correct one. Leave this tapped for the time being. Tails never fails. Tails, you traitor. Alright, well, sometimes you just draw Time Vault. Cast Time Vault. Key. Target Time Vault. Take an extra turn, and we have gotten the GG from the opponent. Yeah, if you are good at drawing Time Vault, like, this deck is great. A fucking Zerda in Vintage? Cool. Alright, I'm on the play. This feels like it's a keep. So, 3 mana, plays out both of these, and then I have 3 untap, 4, 5, Mightstone into defense grid. This hand maybe needs a little help from the top of the deck, but with 2 Mightstones, I probably get to something reasonable. This Vintage League has been wild in terms of, like, the things that I'm seeing on the other side of the battlefield, and I'm so here for it. Alright. Workshop. Monolith. E. And then we'll do the old Untapperoo. Going up to 5 mana for the Mightstone and the Weakstone. Take a Divination. Ooh. 2 mana. Manifold Key. Untap my Monolith. Play a Mox Opal. 3 mana. Defense grid number 1. And a second defense grid. You know, just in case. Just in case. Let's see if I die on turn 1 to some nonsense. So if you haven't been following Legacy for a long time, you probably weren't here for the worst of some of the companion nonsense. Where, like, Zerda combo decks. Ooh, shit. Oh, no. Okay. Well, my opponent has made infinite turns on turn 1. So, like, that's fair. I'll concede once I know how you win. Because I have never seen a Zerda deck in Vintage before. I'm going to go ahead and cut to a win condition, I think. Okay, yeah, okay, so there is Ballista combo as a thing on the other side of the battlefield. That's totally reasonable. So walking people through what's going to happen here, just in case you're not super familiar with Zerta. With cards like the Grim Monoliths and Basalt Monoliths, you can go infinite using Zerta. So activate abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. So the untaps end up costing less than the mana that you generate. So you generate infinite mana, and then you can kill with something like a Walking Ballista. I had a sick turn 1. My opponent's turn 1 was better. So the Pithing Needle-ish stuff is probably pretty reasonable. Dismember is not crazy. I basically need to replace defense grids one way or another. I think this is my starting point. And maybe one Worm Coil. I don't know that I want to play Dismember. Like, I'm hoping my opponent's dead before Azurta matters. Maybe that's too ambitious on my end. Mox. And doesn't quite get to 5 mana. Pithing Needle in the Dark is a little medium. Do I keep this hand assuming that top does something cool, or do I just ship it? I think given that I have lands that tap for 3 or more mana, I ship this one. And I'm not happy with this either. Let's go to 5. That's a Time Vault in hand. I don't know that this hand is capable, though. It just doesn't have enough mana. Like, this is the 5. If I hit lands, cool. If I don't hit lands, I'm stone cold dead. I'm gonna go to 4. Well, this is a better version of the previous hand. So on turn 1, I can go Workshop, Time Vault, top, and then try to find a key to go infinite. This is totally fine. I think I keep Urza's Saga here, because that is a... I play Urza Saga on 1? I don't think I do. I think I'm just playing out these cards. Time Vault top, let's try to win next turn. Maybe I'm supposed to keep City of Traders, actually. Might have messed up. Alright, there is a Monolith. Wow, Smelting Vat is apparently a real card. Not skip my own turn here. There is a Pithing Needle. So, do I just want to Pithing Needle that Smelting Vat? Or do I want to try... I probably just want to Pithing Needle that this turn. That's probably okay. I really regret not keeping City of Traders. Although this finds me my answer in a couple of turns. Maybe it's okay. Needle the Vat. The issue here is that, like, this can only be used to cast artifact spells, so it can't be used to activate abilities of artifacts. Alright, my opponent has a top of their own. They're going to give it a spin. Again, floating mana. Can't be used for top. Drew on the other side of the battlefield as well. And I am so excited about Vintage right now. Like, I really wish I was playing an Eternal Weekend so I could dedicate a whole bunch of time towards testing this format. Because it looks sweet right now. Opal is no big deal. Alright, and we're chilling. I have drawn a Trinisphere. And cast that with Workshop. Take a look at these cards with top. None of this is super exciting. I really need some regular mana, huh? Like, I need my mana to actually activate the Time Vault, and this other Workshop doesn't actually do that. This is a little strange. Guess I'll Needle on top. Do I play this? Makes hitting a Mox worse for me. Oh, that's super weird. Because my opponent might vomit some spells if I don't, if they find their own, like, Mightstone, Weakstone. I think I want to be able to spike a Mox after a shuffle. Am I getting Hurkyl's recalled? I'm getting Hurkyl's recalled. Wrong. I think I left another Workshop on top of my deck. If that's the case, I can vomit this stuff back into play, and it's not the end of the world. Oh, my opponent can activate Smelting Vat now, though, since the Needle is out of play. Nettle Cyst. Oh, man. That is cool. Yeah, and my opponent is taking it. Like, understandably, it's a 5/5 that probably ends up growing. Alright, sure. Okay, they're going for whatever they put on top there. A new Smelting Vat. And they're not cracking immediately. I'll float a mana. I'm picking up a key. I will use my artifact spell mana. Actually, I should play a Pithing Needle first, right? Pithing Needle on Smelting Vat before I do anything else. Yeah, that is just correct. My opponent can instant speed do absolute nonsense. They've chosen not to. Smelting Vat is shut off. Attempt Time Vault Key. Untap. Getting Hercles. Getting Hercles. Again. Which is brutal. Then next turn I can put this stuff back into play, but I can't quite activate it. And I'm about to draw another workshop, which also doesn't quite do what I want it to do. Taking a lot of damage from this Nettle Cyst. Nettle Cyst is really good tech here. Like, my opponent can do something like tap top to draw a card, in response sack it to Vat, try to get some more artifacts into play, then Smelting Vat a Smelting Vat. Okay, they're just drawing a card with top. Oh no, I might die this turn. So my opponent could equip Nettle Cyst to Nettle Cyst to just swing in for an absurd amount of damage. Not happening though. My opponent will have multiple Smelting Vat activations to their name. Alright. Nettle Cyst goes away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this is what my opponent was looking at. Get rid of all of those now. And we're probably just doing that song and dance again. I think I lost this game because I didn't keep City of Traders, by the way. Like, I was so focused on tutoring up a key where I didn't think about the implications of actually just, like, drawing one. The other Nettle Cyst has been tutored away. I had time to watch about, like, 5 minutes of one of Justin Gennari's videos. I watched his deck tech for an earlier version of this deck. He said in there that he didn't think the blue was super necessary. If the mirror sort of situation ends up becoming popular, like, I can get wanting to have the recalls, but I don't think you need the blue card. I think the core of the deck is just good enough to just function as is. Or topping. I also wonder if my opponent is playing correctly. Like, I know I don't have a lot of reps in Vintage right now, but my opponent has gone from having lethal on board to not having lethal on board. They still might just win, but, like, that was very much a thing that just occurred. No cards in hand this time. So there's a Grim Monolith. 1 mana for a key. Yeah, and they know. I guess they know about my Time Vault. Yeah, because they've bounced that multiple times. Yeah, they see what's going on here. Yeah, and I'm gonna finish this thought. I don't know that my opponent is playing correctly. Like, I think they could have Smelting Vat, like, Smelting Vatted one of their other Smelting Vats to pick some other lines where they maybe end up leaving a Nettle Cyst on board that kills me. Or they could have Nettle Cysted on Nettle Cyst and done more damage to me directly. I didn't do the math, but, like, potentially putting me in the range where I couldn't activate an Ancient Tomb or something. I think my opponent had an astounding number of lines that turn. I'm not sure that what they did was right. So I know that Nettle Cyst is now a thing that I have to keep in mind. Dismember is real in that regard, but Nettle Cyst gets outside of Dismember range relatively quickly. I'm less excited about this Trinisphere on the draw, but I'm not really sure that there's anything that I want to play. Could just go up 1 land overrunning the Trinisphere, which I think I'm actually just going to do. I could instead just play a Wormcoil Engine as well, just to have something that does just block versus a random Nettle Cyst. I'm gonna do that. Like, I'm not excited about Swamp when I'm not also boarding in the Dismembers. What do we do here? I have a lot of mana. An absolutely disgusting amount of mana, and I can Pithing Needle Smelting Vat. Am I fine with this? I'm gonna say that I'm fine with this. I don't think the hand's overly impressive, but I think especially being on the draw, I'm okay with where this can potentially go. Grim Monolith. 4 mana. Well, this is gonna be a problem. Okay. Oh man, that can grab artifact lands, huh? So my opponent activated his Zerda ability there. So stuff's scary. Zerda's in hand, and my opponent has like Grim Monolith in play. Alright. Workshop. 3 mana. My own Grim Monolith. Up to 4 total mana. Use 1 for a key. I think at this point, I'm going to go ahead and play a top. Activate a top. My own Smelting Vat. Well, that's incredibly awkward. I think I deal with it. Alright. Manifold Key. Untap my Grim Monolith. 3 mana. Voltaic Key. Untap my Grim Monolith. 1 mana Pithing Needle. Set off Smelting Vat. 3 mana. Manifold Key. We're going to do some tricksies here. I'm going to go ahead and activate a top. Holding priority. Still holding priority. We're going to draw a card. Still holding priority. We're going to untap Sensei's Divining Top. And we're going to tap Sensei's Divining Top a second time. This is going to let us draw through 2 of the cards on top of my library, and then rearrange these cards as I see fit. I would love to draw Urza's Saga next turn. That sounds great. We'll call it a turn there. Now, my opponent can put something together with Zerda that potentially kills me relatively quickly. But they are going to need another card in order to do that. Like, they are going to need something like a Walking Ballista, and I saw 2 of those go back into their deck, so I'm feeling okay about my position. My opponent, I guess, does need the necessary mana to do some stuff. So, like, there's that as well. Let's see what I can do with top here. Let's cast a top. I think I just want to play the Urza Saga. Then let's tap, draw a card with top. Manifold Key. Or I guess I actually want to Manifold Key. Target Grim Monolith. Tap Grim Monolith. Untap a top. Tap a top. Untap a top. Tap a top. And we'll see where that draw 3 goes. Replay a top. Now activate a top with my 1 regular floating mana. A Pearl there. I don't want this Ancient Tomb. I do want these other cards. Don't need to play either this turn. Draw Mightstone and Weakstone next turn. All that good. Next turn I do disgusting things with Tolarian Academy. Assuming that my opponent doesn't like go infinite with Zerda or something. So my opponent's going to use their Tolarian Academy to untap Mana Vault. And that's good enough for the concession. Am I 3-1 now? I'm 3-1 now. Hot damn. Well, well, well. We meet again, Luris. What does this hand do? Ancient Tomb, Black Lotus. 5 mana, play Smelting Vat with 1 mana floating. It doesn't quite go where I want it to go. The hand's still probably a cape. Just may end up playing this differently. What Luris deck is around right now? That I don't know the answer. Like, I have played multiple Luris White Weenie decks. Does that mean that what this is? Probably not. I could just lead on like Saga Key. I could just lead on Ancient Tomb, Defense Grid, Lotus, pass, turn 2 Smelting Vat, junk away Defense Grid, and play Urza Saga. Maybe before I know what my opponent is playing, I should play Defense Grid in case this is a blue Luris deck. But if this is just a... Now, if this is a white Stompy deck, like, why are you not playing the initiative cards? They're fucking busted. So, let's be happy enough with this as a turn cycle. And then we'll see what I can follow up with next turn. Okay, yeah, blue deck. That's grid, baby. Boundary Inspector. Okay. Play Urza Saga. I have 6 mana to work with this turn. I can play Foundry Inspector and Smelting Vat this turn. That seems reasonable. So there's the Inspector. Thank you for your service, Lotus. And I have some scary permanents in play. My mana is a little tight. Oh, fuck. I had Foundry Inspector. I could have played out both of these. That was a clear misplay on my end. I shouldn't have made, because like I did the cost reduction for Smelting Vat. Yeah, so now I open myself up to some sort of Lightning Bolt type card on Foundry Inspector, costing me mana, and by extension, size of my Urza Saga Construct tokens. Ooh. Wasteland is strong. Another Mox. Ponder is fine. So now we're just hoping to dodge Swords to Plowshares. That's a shuffle. Ataxian Probe, sure. Okay, cool. Didn't just like immediately get super punished for my mistake. So this is free. This is free. At this point, I'm comfortable going to combat. Crashing in for the 3. Opponent goes to 15. I think we're going to do it like this. And do the Foundry Inspector on the first one. Take Monolith. And Pearl. I've already got a top. So let's Manifold Key. Untap my Smelting Vat. Make 3 mana. Sacrifice the Monolith. Oh shit, that is Time Vault. I'm going to be putting that into play. Let's try to go infinite here. Let's look at the top 3. We need to find a key, which we did find. Tap to draw a card. Play a key. Key target vault. Yeah, buddy. So I saw Luris and a couple of cantrips. Not exactly sure what that means. So doing kind of a cursory skim of MTG top 8. I'm seeing some Jeskai Xerox deck lists that have threats like Dreadhorde Arcanist, Lavinia, Ragavan, or maybe even Third Path Iconoclast. I'm going to kind of guess that my opponent is going to be doing something of that general nature. That gives me some direction. This may mean that I want to play some number of Dismembers, and that's already something that I might have been thinking about because, like, Luris is good. And I can also do something like board in a Grafdigger's Cage. I don't really know what I want to board out, though, because, like, my deck seems pretty reasonable. I don't want to board out the Trinisphere. I don't want to board out the defense grids. I do, I think, want to get this in. Needle can probably go. That seems like an okay substitution. Again, I feel like a lot of decks are pre-boarded against blue, and your sideboards are for non-blue matchups. Not always true, but at least for a lot of the decks that I play in Vintage, it is frequently true. I believe that I am comfortable keeping this hand. It's got a defense grid and some gas. Let's pass in the turn. That's fine. How do I want to play this turn? I can go Workshop, Foundry Inspector into Soul Ring Defense Grid. Or I can play Workshop, Defense Grid, then Soul Ring top. I think I like Foundry Inspector. Like, not really the sort of thing that you use a counterspell on. Fuck me, I guess. I'm wrong. Alright. I eat my words. Now I don't have Soul Ring in play this turn. Which, wow, consider. And not having the Soul Ring could be relevant if my opponent, like, wastelands me. Okay, yeah, that's fair. Like, junking a Foundry Inspector doesn't make a lot of sense unless you can, like, attack my mana afterwards. So, like, I get it. Ooh. Alright, Inventor's Fair, Soul Ring, 2 mana, Defense Grid. My opponent randomly plays like a Lavinia. I want to already have this Lotus in play. So I guess I'll cast that. Although I'm going to save this to cast the Mightstone and the Weakstone next turn. Ponder is fine. That's a shuffle. Is another Wasteland. I don't actually care that much about that since I have 5 mana to get another permanent mana rock into play. Bat. That's good. I don't think it's my play this turn. I think I want this long-term mana. Plus this is just card draw as well. Draw 2. Oh! That was that was decent. That was decent. I would overall categorize myself as being happy with that development. Oh, what the fuck? Like, my opponent has used 2 Wastelands, so they're unlikely to have another to take out this Urza's Saga. And they're low on mana, so they're not getting the Lurrus value. I have active Smelting Vat for a large amount. Defense Grid as protection. I think we're done here. Okay. They did find a little bit more mana. Take your card. Grim Monolith. So my Soul Ring mana is tied up with Urza Saga. Thinking about whether or not I want to get rid of the Mightstone and the Weakstone. I think I'm okay with that. Go ahead and vat that. I will take Time Vault and Voltaic Key. That seems okay. Voltaic Key, target Time Vault. Oh my god, what a fucking brutalizing league. This deck is awesome. Okay. A, I love this deck. B, I wonder if some version of this deck is actually real by vintage standards. Like, I booted up a league with this deck because I thought this was going to be a good combination between, like, awesome meme and true power. And I am so impressed by this deck. And, like, I kind of thought I'd put up some wins today. I didn't expect to just crush. Smelting Vat is a huge amount of selection. Like, looking at 8 cards is crazy. Those are like your dig through time levels of selection. Like, I am so impressed by how deep this digs. I will say I'm a little limited by like the number of different ways that I can actually win the game, right? There's one Time Vault, so if something happens to that, it's awkward. You technically can get it back via Karn, right? Like, you can Karn Tormod's Crypt yourself and then like recast it from exile. Like, there's ways to get it back. It's just tough. In the pseudo mirrors where I was pithing needling either Smelting Vat or Urza Saga, I ran out of real win conditions pretty fast. But other than that, I feel very positive about this deck. I don't know that this is the best Smelting Vat deck, but like, this is a very strong deck list that I would be very excited to play a whole lot of. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, please consider leaving me a comment on the way out. I would love for this to like explode and 10,000 or more people to get their eyes on this video, this deck list, because it's awesome and I love it. I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya.